Okay, buckle up. You sent us sources this time, unlike really any we've tackled before.
Hmm.
We're delving deep into the nature of the universe, mind, reality, from a perspective that, well, it really challenges conventional understanding.
It certainly does. It's dense stuff.
Yeah,
Fascinating, though.
absolutely fascinating. And it promises a truly unique deep dive into some pretty radical ideas.
For sure. Today we're plunging into excerpts from Walter Russell's 1926 work, The Universal One. The full title is quite a mouthful. An exact science of the one visible and invisible universe of mind, and the registration of all idea of thinking, mind in light, which is matter and also energy.
Mm.
Edited by Louise Russell, his wife.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it presents a cosmology that just flips so many assumptions right on their head.
Oh, look.
Right. So our mission here really is to navigate this specific perspective with you. We want to pull out the core principles, those, aha moments,
Yeah.
and the most maybe thought-provoking ideas that make up Russell's vision.
Think of this as your guide, basically.
Exactly, your guide to understanding his very specific, intricate, and yeah, often counterintuitive view of how it all works.
Yeah.
That's from the source material you sent.
Okay, let's get into it. The absolute foundational idea Russell presents is, well, the universe is one.
One, not two, not lots of separate things.
Nope. Just a single indivisible substance. And that's not just like a philosophical point. It's the bedrock of his entire physics.
And this one substance, the source tells us, is mind.
Right. Or God.
Yeah,
Or the universal living being. It's the fundamental stuff of everything that is.
gotcha.
And crucially, this mind isn't passive. It's not just sitting there.
No.
It's a thinking substance. And according to Russell, this thinking process,
Yeah.
this is the fundamental cause of all motion in the universe.
The thinking causes the motion.
That's what he says. He describes it as mechanical, rhythmic, periodic. It's the thinking that generates, well, everything we see.
Okay, here's where it gets, I think, really interesting, and maybe the trickiest part for our everyday perception. If the universe is this one unchanging substance, mind and its nature is thinking, then what about all the stuff? The chairs, the planets, us.
Right. What about all that?
The source says what we perceive as the created universe, matter, form, dimension, change, it's fundamentally an illusion.
An illusion, not ultimate reality.
Exactly.
It's presented as an appearance, you see. It results from the thinking of that one substance, and this thinking gets registered in light.
Ah, light. And he equates light with matter and energy.
Yes, so matter isn't some separate building block. It's just mind's thought taking form as light or energy in motion.
So the substance itself, mind, doesn't change, but it appears to change because of its motion.
Precisely. The underlying substance, mind, light, matter, energy, it's all one, is eternal, constant, unchanging. It only appears to change because of its state of motion.
Like a whirlpool in water. The water's still water, but the motion creates a form we see.
That's a great analogy. The substance is constant, but its condition, its state of motion, creates the illusion of change and form.
Which leads right to the next question.
Yeah.
How does this illusion appear if it's all one thing?
Through motion. According to Russell, it's all about motion.
Okay.
All motion is oscillatory, like a cosmic pendulum, just swinging back and forth rhythmically.
Swinging between two apparently opposing forces.
Exactly. He calls them gravitation and radiation.
Gravitation. That's described as electric, generative, contractive. It pulls things together, right?
Yep.
Positive, male principle.
Yes, increases density, potential, all that.
And radiation is the opposite. Magnetic, repulsive, expansive.
Yeah.
Pushes things apart. Negative, female principle. Decreases density.
That's the description. But here's the key point Russell makes again and again.
They aren't really two separate forces.
Nope. He insists they are two opposed expressions of one underlying force, always seeking balance. A state he calls motion in equilibrium.
Okay.
Think about breathing. In and out. Feels opposite, right? But it's one process. Respiration, seeking balance. Same idea here, just on a cosmic scale. The total energy in the inward swing and the outward swing is constant. Only the dimension, the apparent size or intensity changes.
Right. Okay, so if the universe is one thinking substance and reality of this illusion of rhythmic motion between these apparent opposites, what does that mean for concepts like space or time?
Well, according to Russell, they're part of the illusion too.
Seriously, space and time aren't real.
Not fundamentally real, no. They're illusions born of this motion, its oscillations. Same goes for form, position, even dimension itself.
Dimension is an illusion.
That's a core point. He argues these aren't fundamental properties of the one substance. They're appearances that are outer mind, the part focused on senses, mistakes for reality.
So dimension is just, what, an effect of motion?
Essentially, yes, an illusion of the mind substance, sustained by more or less concentrated motion.
And he gets specific, right, doesn't he list dimensions?
He does. 18 measurable dimensions.
Hmm.
And it includes things like, yeah, time, but also temperature, color, rotation, revolution, crystallization, valence, even tone.
Wow, okay.
And all of these, in his system, they're characterized by orderly periodicity. They're registered effects of the thinking mind expressed through motion.
Okay, let's maybe use this framework to look at some key concepts through Russell's specific lens, like light.
Light.
Okay.
The source is really unequivocal here. All matter is light.
All matter, like this desk is light, a rock is light.
According to Russell, yes. Flaming stars, dark cold solids, it's all light. Luminosity, like seeing a bright star, isn't some special property. It's just a state of intensely unequalized motion, sustained by high pressures within that light substance.
Okay. And he also has a strange idea about light traveling, right?
Yeah, another big one. Light doesn't actually travel like we think of a bullet
So
travel.
it's at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second.
He says that apparent movement is, again, an illusion of dimension. That speed isn't something moving through space. It's the highest measure of the perceptible impulses of thinking mind in action. Like a wave impulse moving, not the water itself traveling distance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot to rethink. What about life and death?
Another fundamental shift. In Russell's system, life isn't just for biological things. It's not separate from matter.
If rocks are alive.
He'd say life is a vitalizing property of all matter, and it's eternal.
Eternal. So no death.
Our concept of death, like de-energized substance, he says is wrong. There is no death in this universal process, only transition.
Transition between states of motion.
Exactly. Life is the continuous pulsing, that electromagnetic oscillation of thinking mind within matter. It's like water turning to ice or vapor. The water substance is still there, just expressing itself differently because its state of motion changed.
Okay, this seems connected to something you mentioned, pressure. That sounds really central.
Absolutely fundamental in his system. Pressure is the relative state of those opposed forces, gravitation and radiation. It's the balance point that sustains the illusion of density and dimension.
And high pressure means certain things, low pressure means other.
Right. He breaks it down. High contraction pressure, that's the electric generative force driving it, means high density, low volume, high temperature, high potential.
Okay.
And low expansion pressure driven by the magnetic radiative force means low density, high volume, low temperature, low potential. All those 18 dimensions he lists, they're all pressure dimensions, fundamentally.
He gives examples, right, like planets.
Yeah, he contrasts Mercury and Jupiter. Mercury, being in a high pressure zone close to the sun, is denser, hotter, higher melting point.
Makes sense in his system.
Whereas Jupiter, out in lower pressure zone, is less dense, colder. He even speculates that something solid on Earth, like ice, well, it could be a building material on Neptune because the pressure and temperature are so vastly different. It's all relative to the pressure state.
Okay, let's tackle maybe the most head-spinning idea, the one that really clashes with physics as we usually learn it.
You mean attraction and repulsion?
Yeah. The source says, opposite charges do not attract.
That's right. Clear statement. Flat out contradicts Coulomb's law.
So, what does attract, according to Russell?
He argues like charges attract, meaning the same type of pressure or charge, either both electric, which he calls positive, or both magnetic, which he calls negative discharge.
Wait, like charges attract, so two positives attract, two negatives attract.
That's what he appears to claim, within his specific definitions. He says attraction and repulsion aren't attributes of the substance, they're attributes of motion. Centripetal inward force is attraction, centrifugal outward force is repulsion. Electricity, the positive charge attracts. Magnetism, the negative discharge repels. They leap away from each other.
Whoa, okay, hang on. My brain hurts a little. How does he explain basic things then? Like, why does a magnet stick to my fridge or lightning? That seems like opposite attraction.
Right, great question. The source tries to explain it within his system. So for the magnet and iron filings, he says it's not opposite poles attracting. It's the electric charging poles in the iron being attracted to the electric charging field of the Earth, or a strongly charged magnet that's drawn in generative current.
So electric attracts electric.
Like electric charges seeking equilibrium, yes, not opposite poles. And lightning. He describes that as a highly generative positive charge seeking its own pressure level and potential within the Earth system.
Not seeking an opposite charge?
Exactly. It's discharging away from the high potential zone towards equilibrium. The apparent repulsion we see between conventional-like charges, he says that's the magnetic discharge force pushing away from the generative force.
Okay. That requires a complete mental flip. I need to mull that one over. Let's move to states of matter. Solids, liquids, gases.
Also just appearances in this view. Different expressions based on motion and pressure state.
And temperature is relative, too.
Totally relative. What melts zinc might be cold for carborundum. Depends on their internal potential, their pressure state.
And form, like the shape of things.
Also not inherent, just an appearance held together by the attractive electric force.
Until the expansive magnetic force tears it apart.
Right. Returns it to the formless state. Like us applying heat and pressure changes iron's form, but the substance is still iron.
He goes deeper, though, right? Into the building blocks.
Yes, he talks about the elements being aggregations of living, thinking beings. Calls them light units or corpuscles.
Living.
Thinking, that's the language used. Born of generative energy, they have male and female aspects. They integrate into atoms, solar systems, and then they disintegrate.
And we're made of these.
He sees man as a complex organization of these light units. Says they exhibit traits like integration, disintegration, sleep-wakefulness. Fundamentally, he claims, they're no different from us, or a mountain, or a rose, just different in their apparent dimension or state of motion.
Wow. Okay, and sex plays a big role.
The universal sex principle. He argues all thinking is sex thinking. It's fundamental to reproducing ideas and creating form. Light itself is a sex expression. The underlying sexlessness of the baseline inertia becomes bisexual in motion to allow concepts to be expressed sequentially into form.
And nature uses waves to do this.
Right. Translates dimensionless concepts into dimensional form via the wave, but not simple up and down waves. He describes them as spiral actions and reactions, starting from the inertial plane. Motion appears as mass evolves towards a sphere.
And disappears as it devolves back to the plane.
Exactly, through conical geometry, apparently.
The color fits in here, too, as a dimension.
Yep. Indicates potential, position, condition within an octave cycle. Reds, oranges, yellows are charging, generative, adolescent systems.
While greens, blues, violets are discharging, radiative, senescent, getting older.
Pretty much. Spectrum analysis, for him, records the history and attributes of a mass's state. He uses the sodium D-line example, argues its brightness isn't its base tone, but a storm of contraction making its overtone loud. Claims red stars are young, blue stars are old.
And valency, how elements combine.
Directly linked to their octave position and locked potential. Fits his weird attraction idea. Inert gases have zero valency because they're near the stable inertial plane. He uses chemical examples, like sodium with halogens, arguing unequal potentials seek stable mates, claiming equal potentials unite better again, flipping conventional ideas.
Even sound.
All sound is explosions, basically. Potential impacting potential, either general active, pulling things in, or radioactive, pushing things out. These explosions register everywhere.
Okay, let's try and connect this really unique physics back to, well, us, to man's place.
Russell presents man as absolutely not separate, part of the one universal mind.
Our mind and God's mind are the same mind.
That's the idea, thinking the one idea, which is the universe.
Which implies man creates his own reality.
In a sense, yes. He says man is his own creator, creating all that appears just by thinking. Things like memory, instinct, intuition, imagination. These aren't just brain functions.
What are they then?
Acts of thinking mind, recollecting ideas that are chemically recorded in matter at that baseline inertial plane. He uses the beaver building a dam as an example of this universal mind, recollecting the idea of beaver dam evolution through that form.
And he distinguishes between types of mind in us.
Yeah, the outer mind, caught in the illusion of the senses, and the inner mind, which thinks in the reality of light, tuned in to divine thinking.
So true thinking is thinking like God thinks.
Thinking in tune with divinity. In the high octaves of light, focused only on perfection. He uses a violin analogy. Play one string, and others perfectly tuned to it will resonate. When man thinks in tune with God's thinking, the universe resonates.
And understanding all this cosmology, is important for our evolution.
He presents it as essential, key to getting beyond what he calls jungle habits like war. He believes this knowledge is needed for a coming cosmic age.
A cosmic age.
Populated by God-loving men who get that love is the fundamental principle of unity. He argues pretty strongly for honoring peace geniuses over war heroes.
And they're practical claims too, right? Huge ones.
Oh, absolutely. Transmutation of elements.
Like lead into gold, or carbon into gold, he mentions.
Yep, and lightening human labor, bringing about a whole new civilization. He doesn't present it as magic, though.
No.
It's a scientific consequence, he claims, of understanding these simple laws of motion, dimension, pressure, and illusion. He says we already control the energy, the oscillation. We just need the knowledge of dimension to direct it properly.
Wow. Okay. So that was quite a journey, just a glimpse, really, into Walter Russell's vision from the universal one.
It's incredibly complex, unified, and, yeah, deeply counterintuitive.
A model where mind, light, matter, energy are all one. Creation is an illusion of thinking, mind and motion. Opposites aren't really opposites. Attraction and repulsion work differently.
Very differently. It really asks you to look past what your senses tell you, past the illusion of form and dimension.
And see the underlying simplicity, the unity, governed by these periodic laws of mind.
That's the core of it.
So what stands out to you, listening to all this? How does this idea, Russell's idea, of the universe as a single thinking substance, where creation is this illusion of rhythmic oscillation, how does that shift your perspective on, well, anything, everything?
It definitely gives you a lot to chew on. That wraps up our deep dive into these excerpts from Walter Russell's The Universal One.
Yeah, it certainly leaves you with questions about reality, the universe, your own place, all seen through this truly unique lens he provides.
We hope exploring these sources you shared gave you some fascinating nuggets, maybe sparked a few aha moments, or at least some good, healthy questioning.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep asking those questions, keep exploring, and keep diving deep into the knowledge you seek.